Yo, what's good with y'all boys? It's your SNKRS Jordan, aka Vixen, back with yet another video, man. Today we're gonna be talking about Nike sneaker bots. So recently I noticed there's a huge influx of people trying to get into sneakers botting. It's pretty simple, but with so many bots being on the market, I understand it's impossible to actually research some of these things. This video is actually inspired from one of my subscribers by the name of John. Shout out to you, John. I really appreciate you for giving me this idea. So in this video, we're actually going to be comparing 3 Nike bots that I've been seeing do pretty well, which is EssenceAIO, TSB, and BetterNikeBot. I'm going to be showing you guys what it looks like to actually run during a live drop. There's always some issues that you can encounter, like errors happening or your account's not actually entering the draw. So I want to show you guys how they actually perform during a drop. For the drop we're going to be running on, we ran for the Nike Bodega Dunks. So for this drop, we aren't necessarily judging the bot based on success. We're basically judging them on how they enter the accounts and how they handle errors. I want to give a shout out to my friend Yubi and True for letting me use their computers so I can make the results as fair as possible. Although our PCs aren't exactly the same, I made sure that we had really high quality proxies during this drop and our computers were up and running at full potential. So to begin this video, I'm going to show you guys how they run during the actual live drop, and then after that I'm going to score them based on 6 very important categories that I think go into creating a Nike bot. So for the first bot I'm going to be showing you guys is Essence. So for now, sit back, enjoy, and I'll see you guys after the live cop. Before we get into our ratings, let's hear a word from today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by The Chef's Table. I've been with The Chef's Table for almost a year now, and I can say that this is by far my favorite group I've ever worked with. I'm sure you guys have seen them in my videos. Everything that I cop is because of them. The Chef's Table is not your average group, with everything from their amazing group buys to their blazing fast monitors with over 200 plus sites, early links and site lists for all major releases, add to cart monitors, low-key cooks such as PlayStation 5s, Xbox Series X, cards, coins, everything you can name. My favorite thing about the Chef's Table is the helpful staff. With it being such a small community, all your needs and questions will be answered within minutes. If you're looking for a cook group to join and extend your reselling game, I highly recommend the Chef's Table. If you're interested in joining the Chef's Table, I'll leave their Twitter link in the description so you can follow them, turn post notifications on so you can be alerted when they restock. So now that we're done watching our live cops, let's go into rating these bots. The way we're gonna be scoring these bots is out of 6 different categories. Each category you can score up to 10 points. The way I came up with these categories is I asked multiple people that are into Nike sneaker botting, and these are the responses that I got back. So the 6 categories are UI design, how good it looks and how well the actual UI works, the setup time, so being able to create tasks very quickly, how well it actually enters the accounts into the draw, how it handles errors, its efficiency on getting the draw results, and the level of difficulty to actually use the bot. So keep in mind, bots can have good and bad days. I'm sure all of these bots do absolutely amazing when they're at their top performance, but we're going to be rating these strictly on this bodega drop. So we're going to be running over these really fast. I'm going to give you guys an explanation for why I actually select some of these ratings, and the first bot we're going to start with is EssenceAIO. So the first category we're going to start with is actually the UI. Essence is a very good looking bot with the dark theme and the bright colors to contrast and make the entire UI actually pop. It also has useful features like the calendar, which allows you to actually create tasks without looking up a SKU or grabbing the link for it. Although I love the UI and everything about it, there's some things that could be better, like being able to see which account or proxy is actually used for a certain task. There's also no edit buttons on your actual task view, so if you wanted to change anything about a task, you would have to recreate the entire thing. And let's say you messed up on a lot of tasks, you basically have to manually go through and create each single one of them. This isn't really a big deal, but the fact that you can't see your account passwords is kind of annoying, because if you ever wanted to go back and log into the actual Nike account. So for Essence UI rating, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Now let's move on to setup time. I'm really on the fence about the setup time for Essence. Essence makes it really easy to import your accounts, proxies, profiles. The main issue that holds it back from it being able to set up very quickly is there's no random size option. In order to be able to set it up quickly, you would have to select just a single size. So if I wanted to just create all my tasks at once, I would basically have to be fine with only a size 8 or only me going for a size 7. And if you're really into botting, you know that putting all your eggs in one basket isn't the best idea. It'd be way more beneficial if you could have a size range or a random size. So for that, I'm going to give Essence a 6 out of 10 on the setup time. Next, we're going to be talking about entering accounts. This is where Essence falls short, with errors such as the red text error, being stuck at CVV, being stuck at continuing shipping, and the mobile mode sometimes getting blocked when you're trying to actually log into your account really kills the bot. If everything goes smooth and you don't run into any of these issues, the bot is actually really great at entering accounts, but this isn't the case. So for that, I'm going to give Essence a 3 out of 10 in this category. The next category we're also talking about is error handling. Just like I talked about, there's errors whenever you're actually entering for the draw. This is where Essence really gets messed up. It basically becomes stuck at wherever it left off at. One thing it tries to do is refresh the browser and try to get back to the normal flow, but most of the time that doesn't actually fix anything. Whenever an error occurs, like the CVV error, where it actually doesn't fill out your CVV and just leaves it blank, you have to manually go in there and type in your CVV. This may not seem like a big deal, but if you have 50 tasks and 15 of them get stuck on the CVV, then you actually have to go in and manually type each of the CVVs in. So for that, I'm going to give Essence a 2 out of 10 for handling errors. So next we're going to talk about getting the results. So if you're using the mobile mode and not the desktop mode, you actually get results pretty well. Most of the time they really do come back and actually send over to the webhook, but the desktop mode doesn't do great. If there's any errors that occur, like a third-party payment or something along those lines, you actually won't get any results back. So most of the time what I would have to do is I would have to go into my privacy.com account or into my bank account and check if I actually got charged. For me, this isn't really a big deal as long as I actually end up getting the shoes, but I know most people actually do care about this. So for that, I'm going to give Essence a 5 out of 10. Then for our level of difficulty, this bot is easily a 10. It's one of the easiest bots to use out there. Anyone could actually pick up this bot and use it without reading a guide. Essence overall score is a 34 out of 60 or 57%. Keep in mind, Essence is still in beta. I'm sure whenever 1.0 comes out or whatever they're thinking of next, most of these issues will actually be solved. But for this bodega drop, this was the final score. Now let's move on to BetterNikeBot. The first category that we're going to be getting into is the UI. I'm sorry to say this, UI is absolutely terrible. I've been botting for 4 years now, and I've never seen a UI just this outdated and old and just bad. It's wild to me that they've been in the game this long and they haven't updated the UI yet. Simple things like importing accounts and importing profiles, literally took me about 2 hours to figure out how to do and how to actually do it. Even after reading the guides weren't actually guiding anything. I was having to go into the bot and just randomly play around with things. And also, when you want to import things like credit cards, there was 3 separate buttons to import credit cards. Why do you need 3 separate buttons? It made absolutely no sense to me. So for that, I'm gonna give BNB a 2 out of 10. Next, now we're gonna talk about the setup time. This was another terrible thing for me. It took me about 2 hours just to set up everything, including importing my accounts, my profiles, all this other stuff, and also the task. This could be at the fault of me, definitely, but I just don't think so, because I've used multiple different bots and none of them have even been close to this hard to set up. Although I can say one thing about BNB, once you get set up and you have all your tasks already created, profiles, everything ready to go, you can easily just switch out the SKU for the next drop, and that just takes a couple seconds and you'll be ready. If it wasn't for all the random buttons and all these hoops that you had to jump through to import accounts and everything else, it would definitely be great, but for that I'm gonna rate it a 5 out of 10. So now let's talk about the actual performance of BNB and not just the look. BNB actually does pretty well with entering accounts. In my experience, I didn't have any hiccups when I was going for the drop. I didn't even have to look at the task or the bot, and it did everything perfectly by itself. I strictly just threw it on my friend's computer and just let it run. I didn't even look at it until the drop was actually done. So for that, I think BNB deserves a perfect 10 out of 10 for entering accounts. Now on to our next category, which is error handling. In terms of error handling, I think it did very well. Like I said, I didn't even have to watch my task for BNB. It purely did everything by itself. I didn't need to guide anything. I actually did see 1 or 2 tasks actually get stuck, but that easily could have been a Nike issue or a proxy issue. For the error handling, I'm also going to give that a 10 out of 10. Now let's talk about getting results, and this is another thing that BNB actually excels in. Most of the results came back very quickly, almost immediately after the drop. I'm sure before I stopped my task, I would have easily got all the results that I needed, so we're going to give them another 10 out of 10. In terms of level of difficulty to use this bot, I think I would rate this a 7. If you look past the UI and you strictly focus on the performance of the bot, BNB is actually really solid. So that brings BNB to a final score of 44 out of 60, or a 73%. This isn't bad. Most of the issues came from the UI design, but that's the only thing that's holding them back. Otherwise, if you don't care about the UI and you strictly want it for performance, I do recommend you picking up this bot. You can get it for fairly cheap if you go into Tidal Marketplace or Botmart. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for BNB. Now we're on to TSB, also known as the ShitBot. The first category, as always, is going to be the UI score. As much as I find this UI very childish, it's just a bunch of poop symbols everywhere, I have to say, it actually is a really great UI. They make it very easy to guide the user in importing accounts, importing profiles and proxies. Also, one of the features that I really like that I've never seen on any of my other bots is being able to randomize a profile. This may not seem like a big deal, but if you like to test out your setup before a drop and you don't want to have to make a test profile like I do every single time, then this definitely is a useful feature for you. TSB also comes with a calendar similar to EssenceAIO, but this one isn't as useful since once you click it, it just copies the actual name of the shoe. In essence, they actually just let you create tasks straight from there. But nevertheless, it's still a really great calendar. Although I'm not a fan of the whole poop concept within a bot, I really respect that all the buttons work and they make it really easy to navigate for their users. So for that, TSB, you get a 10 out of 10. Now let's talk about the setup time. This is by far one of the easiest bots I've ever had to set up. I was able to set up this bot within 2 minutes. That's just me importing all the accounts and everything I needed and setting up the tasks. Like I said, they really guide their users within their bot, and I really appreciate them for that. So for that, you get a 10 out of 10. Now let's talk about one of the more important parts to any Nike bot, which is actually entering the accounts. I was very shocked at how smooth TSB actually enters the accounts and keeps the CPU and memory really low. All of our accounts were entered perfectly. Keep in mind that we had 100 accounts on TSB and the other bots had around 43 accounts. So that's doubling the amount of accounts and then some. There isn't really much to say about TSB besides it just entered flawlessly. So they get another 10 out of 10. So now let's move on to error handling. Like I said about BNB, TSB handles errors really well. For this drop, no major errors actually happened. One of the tasks actually tried to enter a duplicate account, but TSB actually caught this. It slept the task and it reported to the user that this account was already used. I haven't been able to see the other errors that could possibly happen within TSB, but for this drop, it handled errors really well, and for that, it gets another 10 out of 10. So like I said in the other parts, getting results really isn't that big of a deal unless you want to flex your webhook, but TSB actually does this well as well. All of the draw results came back flawlessly, very quickly, and also in the task, you can actually see that it's counting down to actually get the results, and it's sleeping the task, so it's not constantly spamming trying to get the results. This is a very good feature so you don't actually get your proxies banned and you can get the results after that. Overall, TSB really surprised me. This is one bot that I actually haven't used until this drop. TSB scored a perfect 60 out of 60, 100%. Keep in mind, this could have been one of TSB's great days, just perfect days, but I don't think this is a fluke considering how well it did. Usually when something goes wrong in a bot, you see it over time, but judging by how much success they've been getting lately and how much I've been hearing about this bot, they definitely deserve it. So if you're looking for one of these bots to pick up, I highly recommend TSB. Everything from the feel of it was just really amazing, and I really appreciate the devs for putting all the hard work into this bot to make it actually enjoyable to use. So that's pretty much it for the end of the video. Don't go bashing these bots just because of this one performance. This easily could have been a bad day and a good day for one of these bots. Respect to all the devs that are working on these projects. I know you guys are trying to make it better and a more enjoyable experience. So salute to you guys, and I really appreciate you. But to my viewers, I appreciate you guys for sticking around as always. If you enjoyed, if you learned anything, if you're gonna pick up one of these bots, let me know in the comment section. Also make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.